Good morning, all of you who are listening. We're glad that you have chimed in. My name is Dr. Winetta Ellis. I'm a member of the Seventh Pearl Foundation Board, where I serve as the chaplain. I have been an educator for over 40 years in the classroom, in math, and for music for 26 years, as well as administrator. I also have taught as an adjunct professor at Lindenwood University. I will go in further detail as questions are asked.
What are your thoughts about elevating STEM with the force of STEAM?
Okay, we all love STEM. We all know about STEM. We know that STEM is science, technology, engineer, and math. But what we don't all know is that the force can be elevated with STEAM. STEAM being science, technology, engineering, arts, and math. Now, when we think of STEAM on a daily basis, sometimes it's invisible where people don't automatically recognize it. And sometimes you can see just a small puff of it, but it's there. And it elevates to its highest level. That's what STEAM does for education. It elevates it to its highest level. As a matter of fact, STEAM will help students in motivating them to higher levels. STEAM pre-art segment allows them to know that the arts are manifested in every part of STEAM. In science, I've, in my master's thesis, used science to promote STEAM. My thesis was, you are seeing the scientific method to explore size, volume, and vibration frequencies to pitch. That's arts in STEAM. In technology, much music is placed on every commercial, every sitcom, everywhere you go, you're hearing music. This music usually causes a reaction, either to buy something or to move forward, and can even work in a way where it calls you to want to be your very best. That's the A that's in STEAM that comes and takes STEM to its higher level. The A, the E, engineering. Are you aware that technology and music is so focused now that you don't have to actually use the instruments? You can use technology to create a drum sound, a triangle, and even a harp. Your harps are very hard to take from place to place, so you can take your technology piece. And all of this is utilizing STEM to its higher level of STEAM. Math, oh my goodness, math is so important to the arts. You would not know how to do your rhythms. Math is rhythm. There's no rhythm without the 16th note that gives you 1/64th of a beat. Boy, do you have to know your math to come up with one beat using various notes and rests. So we just want you to recognize today that the arts in STEM, making it STEAM, causes education to soar like STEAM does to its highest form. Utilize it. You would be so surprised on that message. And that's why I'm so glad that that is one of the first parts, initiatives in our second phase of the Seven Pearl Foundation. We'll be motivating students with STEM, and we'll be motivating students with STEAM. For the Seven Pearls motto is develop, network, support, identify, protect, and host. So we plan to host several activities around the United States. That's the Seven Pearls initiative in phase 2. Thank you for listening. Good afternoon. It's me again, Dr. Ellis, Dr. Winetta Ellis, member of the Seven Pearls Foundation Board. And I'm here to speak to you about education, because we have at Seven Pearls a legacy of education.
So, reading across the curriculum, the educator's motivator or motivation, what does that mean?
Okay, I taught students at Lindenwood University who were getting their master's and their doctorates in education. And one of the required courses was reading across the curriculum. And that simply tells you that reading should not be taught in isolation, or no other subject for that matter. Subjects should not be isolated. Do you know that when they are layered, that you receive more comprehension? In isolation, they know 4 by 4 is 16, 4 times 4 is 16. But if you tell them 4 by 4 is 16, but if you take this 4 by 4, 4 of them, and build, then you're elevating that process. They begin to see how 4 by 4 equals 16. So you have demonstrated, because you no longer taught that in isolation. That's just an example. However, some symbolic, you would have math here, science here, reading here, and you will have social studies here. But do you know they all can be taught at the same time, and it's usually more beneficial. If you're talking about the American flag, the math can be taught in that also. How many stars? How many stripes? How do the color correlation? And so you're including the fine parts. How was the red and white correlation? So you take your subject matter and you move it across the curriculum, whereas nothing is taught in isolation. Reading across the curriculum, we read a multitude of genres, and as we read them, we should include what happened during that time in history. We could talk about what clothing were worn then, what were the basic colors. We could talk about what happened during that time? Was it the Depression? Was it the Civil Rights? Well, we read the story with the Puerto so much. Who were the leaders? But we do not teach in isolation. So much is learned when it's pulled together, and so much is excited to draw the attention, to engage the student in learning. Because if they don't like math, well, they like the other part of building the other languages, the other subject matters, along with the math. And so what do you have? You have a conglomeration of information given in one given time. So please do not teach in isolation. Projects, that's a fantastic way for children to come together. And if they're in groups, one might have a higher level of skills in one area and another have a higher levels of in another area, and they pull it together. And that's also used in STEM, what we're thinking, we're pulling all of those together to build, to compose, to create, which are the higher levels of learning. And they also are the levels that they will remember years after they have finished the course. So, reading across the curriculum, math across the curriculum, science across the curriculum, history across the curriculum. No matter what you teach, integrate for a more meaningful learning experience.
Thank you. See you next time.
Hello again. I enjoy speaking with you. My name is Dr. Winetta Ellis, and I'm glad that you have chimed in. I want to talk about today the focus of the Seven Pearls Foundation, which is to develop, network, support, identify, protect, and host. As we are doing today, we're hosting this podcast so that we may share with you, because we want to be a part of our communities. Again, I'm Dr. Winetta Ellis.
Thank you for that. Can you shed some light on education in the classroom and in the community? What does that mean to you?
It's very important that we realize that education can take place anywhere and everywhere. And so, first and foremost, we recognize that the Seven Pearls Foundation has a legacy of educators. And we want to stand firmly on that basis, because we know that education is the key to success. And we thank God that our legacy were from educators who were teachers and administrators who shared their knowledge with their students and eventually to their communities. And so I would like to talk about the fact that we have students that sometimes don't make it to school until they're 5 years old. But do you know learning is everywhere? And we want parents to start thinking about the fact that when they go to the park, they could say, what color is that leaf? Why do you think this one's brown? Why is the grass green in the summer and brown in the winter or non-existent? These are things that cause children to be inquisitive. And with inquisitive comes learning. It comes to a place where they're excitable about things and want to formulate their own ideas through questioning. That way you're engaging the student in the thought process. And so every situation can become a learning experience, not only with the parents, but other family members. When they come over to yours and you want to bake a cake, bring them in their kitchen. Let them learn measurements. Everything can be a learning experience. And now we're going to get to the formal education. Formal education is so necessary, but we need the community to also chime in with us for higher learning, for higher elevations, for higher desires to know more. And so we take part in not only the formal education, but taking it into our communities through organizations. Now, I told you that I taught and that I was an administrator. Also told you I was an adjunct professor. But what you haven't heard is I'm the education director for my church. That's the community. So anything that comes through that has to do with education is shared with me, and I find a way to share it with the community. We have Black History programs, which engross us in our culture even more so we can learn how to love ourselves and build self-esteem. We recognize graduates. We have formal learning experience, professional development for the leaders of the service. And in the community, we have like Vacation Bible School where we're bringing others in. And by me being the director of education and an educator, I also have it set up where the teachers have to have professional development. The children are mentored. The children have hands-on opportunities. And so they enjoy coming. So you too can be an educator in the community. Find someone in your community who's doing educational program and say, I would like to be a part of that. The Seven Pearls Foundation is based on education. And very soon, we will be looking forward to going to the various communities, because education is not just in the classroom, but it's everywhere. Thank you for chiming in.